Greetings hobbyists, this is Arsans and in this video we're going to have a look at different ways to apply modifiers as quickly as possible. So as with many things in Blender, there is a lot of ways of achieving applying modifiers quickly. We're going to have a look at a couple of different ones, but let's start with an object straight away. So first of all, I'm going to apply a subdivision surface just so we've got a range of modifiers. So I'm pressing Ctrl and 3 to get 3 levels of subdivision. I'm going to go into vertex mode, or actually edge mode, select some edges, and I'm going to use hard ops, press Q and mark those, and then I'm going to go into object mode, Q and bevel, and I'm just going to bevel those a little bit, and I'm going to come to that modifier and let's change that method to weight, so it's only modifying those ones at the top, not anything that I add later. I'm going to press Alt and W to open up Box Cutter. If you are interested in Box Cutter, I have got a couple of videos on those that go through how to use this quickly, and you can decide if you think it's worth it for you. And let's add another one in there. So we've got a few modifiers here, and if I just minimize those on the modifier stack, there's only 4. Let's add one there. And let's just leave it like that. Okay, so the standard way of applying these is just to come to the drop-down menu, click apply, okay, and then you've got one applied, or alternatively, you can just go over it and press Ctrl and A, and you'll apply each one. Not too much of a problem, I'm just going to undo those. But when you get into a stack where this is going all the way down to the bottom, I mean, you might have something with like 20, 30, 40. That is a little bit tedious, and there are quicker ways of doing it. So let's go through them. So the first one, where you don't need to do anything or change anything in Blender, is if you just go to Object, Apply, or just press Ctrl A and select Visual Geometry to Mesh. That will apply all of the modifiers, and you've got all your mesh there. So that is one way of doing it. The next option, which adds even more functionality, so I always recommend you have it on, is native to Blender. So if you go to Edit, Preferences, come down to here to Add-ons and type in Modifier, you've got this option called Modifier Tools. And what that does, oops, if I just undo the changes to that, is that you get this option now at the top, which you didn't have before, including deleting all of them. You can change them so they're visible or not. So obviously you can do this here. So for example, I can turn the subdivision surface on and off, and each one I can look at individually, but you can just turn all of them off, which is nice just to be able to sort of see what it looks like. You can toggle the stack, which means that everything opens up, or you can click it again so everything's cleanly in there, and then it has the apply all button, which you click on that and it applies all of the stack. Just the same way as when we went into, or if we go to Ctrl A and Visual Geometry to Mesh. I personally find this a little bit faster just because it's there, you just flick and click on it. But entirely up to you, but either way I'd have this on, just those extra options are really nice. So I thought it might be fun to try these out and see which one is actually the fastest. So what I've got here is a object that we made in a previous tutorial looking at how box cutter can be used to make a sci-fi gun. And as you can see here, this has got quite an extensive stack of booleans acting on it. If you do want to have a look at the video where this is created, the link is in the description. So let's see how this does if we race the different techniques. So what I've got is different techniques here, and then I've got a stopwatch. So we'll start these together at the point where they start processing, and let's see which one is fastest. So a clear winner there, with the visual to mesh being much faster at 1.313 seconds. Now, actually that's quite interesting, bearing in mind that I've been doing this wrong all the time. I always use apply all, so I'm going to have to change that. Though obviously it would be interesting to see how this works with different booleans on different modifiers being applied, for example subdivision surfaces as well, but it's something to go off and to try out. There is one other option in terms of applying all the modifiers that you've got in your stack, but that does use a paid for add-on, which is hard ops. I do love hard ops. It does get used a lot in a lot of my videos because it is pretty much useful for everything. So let's just have a quick look at that. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to press Q and I'm going to bevel it, something like that. And I'm just going to use box cutter to cut some of these cubes in. For example, there. Nothing too complicated. I just want to have a decent sized stack as we had for some of the other ones. So we've got that here. And if I go to the stack, we've got lots of different things there, including the bevel. So HardOps also has its own version of an apply all, except for it acts in a slightly different way. If I apply all to this object here, obviously it applies everything, and I go to vertex and we've got all of our mesh there. And if I wanted to use box cutter again, I could do and just cut into there. But you notice this now doesn't have the bevel on it, and I could go back and start adding the bevel in just to this bit, but that could be a little bit tricky, and it's definitely going to take some time. Now, HardOps has an option that does away with that, and if I press Q to bring up the HardOps menu and go to Mesh Tools, it is just here, and it's called Smart Apply. There are some options with it, as you can see here, depending on if you just click it or if you press Shift click it and so on and so forth. But as standard, if you just go to it and click, it will apply all of your modifiers, except it will not apply the bevels. Now, what's really useful about that is that means that I could still, if I wanted to, go into something like edge mode, and I've still got the raw edges here, so it becomes a lot easier to modify things later. And we can also go into it and, for example, apply another boolean to it, and the bevel will happen straight away. So that is quite useful as an option, and it does apply the majority of the stack, it just doesn't apply the bevels. So at this point, I'd actually stopped there and done a little summary video. And then just out of curiosity, I thought, well, I should probably actually have a look at this for Smart Apply as well. I assume this would be slower because it's got to look through the stack, apply them in order, but then stop applying the bevels and then work out what it's got to do. And then quite curiously found something a bit different, which is if I do it and press Q, you will notice we've got exactly the same stack here. Q, Mesh Tools, Smart Apply, and it's instant. I mean, I haven't sped that up. That's all to time. It's not even worth timing. Now, I don't know how that works so quickly. It must use, again, a slightly different algorithm of working these out. I honestly have no idea how that works at a faster rate than the native tools in Blender, but it definitely does appear to. So again, I will note that HardOps and Box Cutter are paid for add-ons, so you are paying for this speed, but it does seem to work faster. And to be honest, I don't normally use Smart Apply. I normally go over and click Apply All. So I was definitely, before I did this video, doing this in one of the slower ways possible, with the transform visual geometry to mesh being slightly faster than that. And interestingly, this Smart Apply being the fastest of all of them. Now, this isn't a perfect test. It should be noticed this stack didn't go on forever, and there were some things missing from it. For example, I haven't got bevels on this. I don't have subdivision surfaces acting on it. So I would be interested to hear what you guys think. Are you finding the same thing, that Smart Apply is the smarter version of this? Can you actually answer why? Because honestly, I have no idea. Or do you have a different method of actually doing this and applying all your modifiers that is even quicker that I haven't covered here? Please do say in the comments section. I'm always happy to learn new things. As always, I hope you found this video useful. Please do click the like button and subscribe if you haven't. It really helps spread the video to other people, because the more people that like it or comment, the more people see it, because of the wonder of YouTube algorithms. So please do so. It's really, really appreciated.